What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Welcome back. We got some more basketball. We got some more basketball to get to. Today's show, this is what we're going to do. We're going to talk about tonight's games, right? Because if you are messing around with the Sorare NBA Championship Chase Cup, whatever the hell we're calling it, we've got 2 games tonight, so another shot to get a high score. Then we got 4 games on Saturday and 4 games on Sunday. So what I thought we could do is just kind of go team by team, game by game. So we can look at tonight's stuff. We can look at the 2 battles for the 8 seed on the East and the West. And then we'll have to do a little guesswork on Sunday to decide who you think is going to win. I mean, you can utilize like those similar plays for Sunday that you're using tonight if you think that team's going to win. But then we can go through all the games on Saturday so you have a feel for what you should be targeting Saturday, and then same thing for Sunday. So if you are building your lineups tomorrow and you're like, crap, we need some content to it for it, just come back to here and like start with the Saturday stuff. I'll try to bookmark it, chapter it out after we're done here. But that is the plan for this episode. And then what we'll do is on Monday, we'll fire up another similar show, maybe a little bit later in the afternoon than today's start time. And same thing, we'll cover like the next couple of days. I think that's probably the best way to do it. That way we're checking in every few days in case we learn something about the playoff rotations, in case you have any injury stuff. I think that's probably the best way to do it. And most of the time, I don't think teams will have played a second game by the next time we fire it up, you know? So let's do that. We'll go over to our friends over at Top Tier Projections. Excuse me, got to get a little cough in there. And we'll go team by team. We'll start with tonight's action. So let's start with the East Coast games. We'll sort by team. We'll look at Miami. And again, you know, similar to is Miami not a team? What's going on here? Let's see. What did I do wrong? Oh, they just don't have the Miami Heat team listed? That's really cool. Let's do a hard refresh on that one more time. Let's see let's allow some cookies. Let's see if that helps. That's so weird. So they're just listed with no team. Sick. Okay, I do think there is some benefit with some of these Miami Heat guys, because I don't know if you guys, I think one of the issues we're running into is Nikola Jovic, who has a questionable tag for today. I don't think we've gotten any sort of official ruling on that. But if Jovic comes back, that does throw a wrench into the Heat a little bit, because I am kind of interested in Kyle Anderson, who played, I want to say, a little north of 20 some odd minutes in last night's or 2 nights ago's games. Jovic is expected to be available, but unlikely to play tonight. Let's see. Pelle Larsson's expected to be available as well. So it looks like Miami's going to be relatively healthy, but no Jovic. So I do think we can get back to somebody like Kyle Anderson. Man, that's going to be so annoying if this is the case for all the playing games. Let me see if it's for all the playing games. Anthony Davis. Yeah, I hate that they did that. Why is the projection 0? All right, that's super annoying. Does that mean none of them have projections? Okay, sick. Kyle Anderson, I think, is the one that sticks out to me the most for Miami. The other one is Davion Mitchell. Mitchell played quite a bit of minutes. His cap has come all the way up to 31, though. That's not as enticing. The cap of 23 is pretty good. Yeah, it was Snoop Loop. I'm sorry I didn't say hi to you. It's because you were like, "What's a giveaway?" And then the answer was your life, bro. Your life. We got Matic Auto in the chat. Magic Murillo. It is too early for a beer. Also, you know what we decided? We're slowing down the Brewha consumption. So it paired nicely with no more official live before locks. So that's a decision I've made. This kind of sucks that we don't have projections for these. Let me make sure I'm not missing something here for these playing games. Let me check the Discord to make sure I didn't miss anything for the team stuff here. Let me scroll down. No, no dice, no dice. All right. Anyways, we can still just talk through it a little bit here since they're not going to be listed as the projections. Yeah, I think Kyle Anderson is probably the best value. You could get to Alec Burks too. I think Burks is fine. His minutes were a little bit limited, though. And again, you think about this matchup against Atlanta, should be pretty high scoring. I think they throw Davion Mitchell on Trae Young. So maybe we get more Mitchell minutes. And again, if we see some high turnovers and stuff like that, that could be fun. I'm trying to think Dyson Daniels is going to get the Tyler Hero assignment. Could be Okongwu on Bam Adebayo. So I don't know. I think let's just talk about tonight in a vacuum then, since there's no projections. And if you had to rank the MVPs tonight, you got a hoops tournament tomorrow. Yeah, hell yeah, Snoop. I got softball tomorrow. If we had to rank our MVPs tonight, I think Anthony Davis is my favorite. Anthony Davis is getting the matchup against Memphis, which is going to be Zach Edey, maybe some Triple J. One of the nice this actually can go for Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively too, although Lively's minutes have been relatively capped. I don't know if people have been paying attention to that. He's been playing sub 20 minutes a game. AD has been, Memphis Grizzlies get blocked like more than any other team in the league, I think it was. And so AD should have some serious upside. I was having a conversation in the Discord on earlier this morning about Zach Edey. And yes, the Grizzlies have been using Zach Edey a little bit more. He has been a little bit more involved in the offense. He's going to have to be out there a lot tonight. But I wanted to just throw two things out there about Edey. One, this matchup is very different than the Golden State one. And like Anthony Davis is going to be out there. If it's not AD, it's Gafford. It's AD and Lively. It's Lively and Gafford. Like, they just have so many big guys. And you might be thinking, hey, that's actually really good for Edey. That gives him a good minutes floor. And that is true. However, I would uptick the potential of foul trouble in this game. We saw that happen when they were going against the Golden State Warriors and the Warriors were playing small ball. He racked up a ton of fouls. I think this is actually a more foul-inducing situation. The other thing I would say, because I was seeing people say that this actually provides like a higher ceiling for Edey because he's going to have to be out there longer. I mean, man, he had 14 points and 17 rebounds against Draymond Green and the Warriors. That is his ceiling, right? We're not going to see we're not going to see a 20-20 game from him. I mean, maybe he gets 5 blocks, but the variance is so high on blocks, you can't really bank on that. So anyways, I'm just throwing that out there. I still think you could play Edey. I'm not saying Edey's a terrible play. What's his cap at now? It is at 30. So yeah, Edey is totally fine. I don't want people reading into the box score from the last game and being like, oh, Edey's a smash. The other guy from the Mavericks I wanted to talk about, we mentioned he is going to be able to play. Brandon Williams here, his cap is 24. I feel like that could be a fun spot for some cap relief there. I don't think we're going to get a ton. Again, I pointed this out at the beginning of the play-in. There's not going to be a ton of spots for value. There's just not. So like these guys in the low 20s end up being huge for them. Brandon Williams, I think, is like one of the rare offensive guys Dallas has right now outside of AD. So I don't know. I'd get to Brandon Williams. I also like targeting Dallas tonight too, just because I think they're going to be forced to play a little bit faster against this Memphis team. Memphis, you can obviously get to. Heading into tonight, Ja Morant, I think, is technically questionable, but the reporting that has come out of Memphis is that Ja is going to go tonight. So obviously you can still play Ja. I think this is a great spot for Desmond Bane if you think Ja is a little bit hobbled. Another like if we can't sort by Grizzlies, can we? We can't let like if we sort by they'd all project for 0, man. Pippen Jr. here. He's going to cap a 27. I think that's like a fun salary relief place. The other spot I would say is Santi Aldama, a cap of 23. If you think this matchup is tough for Edie, if you think Dallas tries to, if Memphis is like, hey, what if we actually try to go small against this Dallas team, make them play more perimeter guys, then somebody like Santi Aldama plays some small ball 5. And if he's getting out there for a ton of minutes with a cap of 23, I definitely think you can get there. I think for me, if I'm ranking MVPs tonight, I'm going to put Anthony Davis 1. I think I'll go Trae Young 2, although I have some real concerns with how Atlanta is going to play after what we saw them do in their most recent game. I also think Miami plays a little bit slower. So there is some concern with Trae, but that's why I got Trae 2. Ja would be probably 2 for me if I knew he was going to be 100% healthy, but I think I'd tentatively put Ja 3 with Hero at 4. And that's it. There's not really like Klay Thompson. What's his cap at right now? I think you could probably mess with Klay if you want. He's got a cap of 18. We saw him take over an offensive load in that game. Again, against Memphis is like a great spot to attack because of the pace up environment. So I think Klay's probably one of your better salary relief spots, but that's kind of it for tonight. I think tonight's pretty cut and dry, especially because we only have 4 teams to pick from. You're just playing whatever you have, right? And if you have tie-breaking questions, you can throw them in there, but I don't think it's worth going too deep in there. I think I would target the second game more so than the first game. I think I lean Miami to win this game, and I lean Memphis to win this game. But I think Anthony Davis has the highest upside as an MVP guy. And then we'll go from there. Let's talk about this weekend. Let's try to do these games in order here. I believe the first one we have is Pacers Bucks. Now the big news coming out of this series, which doesn't impact us tomorrow, is that Damian Lillard looks like he's going to be back in action. I don't know when he's going to be back. My guess is it would be game 3. They haven't ruled him out of game 2 yet. He has been ruled out of game 1. My guess is they have him play in the first game at home, especially if Milwaukee is able to steal game 1. I think that takes pressure off of them, like needing to win game 2, right? So that they can just wait till they get home and that he won't have to travel or anything like that. So I don't know. The other concern I have with Dame, just like big picture here, is what kind of shape is he in? He hasn't played basketball, like really any sort of basketball activities in like a month, right? And so like, is he able to come in and play his full allotment of minutes? The reason that's a big deal is not necessarily about playing Dame in these lineups, but like if Dame is fully erect and good to go, that slows down Kevin Porter Jr. a little bit. It slows down, I don't know if you're like really screaming for value, somebody like AJ Green. It also boosts guys up if Dame is sitting like Bobby Portis. I think Portis is a pretty interesting guy, but let's just go by value here and like who provides value. And you see the highest value guy is Kyle Kuzma. And listen, I don't trust Kyle Kuzma. I don't love it, but his cap is 24, and you know he's going to be out there for a ton of minutes. So I think you can get there. Cap of 24, projection of 27. I think that's fine. I don't think we're going to have a ton of great value, like I've mentioned, so you can get to the Kuz. Brolo over there with a cap of 29 and projection of 31. I'm not as excited about that one, but it is sub 30 if you have to get there, right? Giannis, of course, you're playing him. And then we get a couple of guys in the 20. You get Gary Trent Jr. and Taurean Prince. I think I would lean Gary Trent Jr. for at least game 1. Indiana has some really good on-ball defenders in Nembhard, Mathurin, who am I forgetting over there? Aaron Nesmith. And so I think I lean the longer guys a little bit better than the smaller guards. So Taurean Prince isn't really an offensive threat, but I know he's going to be out there and probably a little bit more efficient than somebody like Gary Trent Jr. It's kind of why I like Kyle Kuzma a little bit more. I think Bobby Portis can definitely be effective in this matchup, but really this is just an A+ 10 out of 10 Giannis matchup. Giannis Antetokounmpo should just average like 30, 15, and 9 this entire series. So Giannis is probably behind Jokic for Saturday's games. I think I would rank those MVPs Giannis, then Jokic. Jokic, then Giannis, and then maybe like Luka or something like that. So that's what I would have there. I don't know if there's anybody else we should shout out. I guess AJ Green here with a cap of 17 might be useful in games 1 and games 2. And then when Dame comes back, it's curtains. I wanted to see if Kevin Porter Jr.'s cap is all the way up to 32. I do think though KPJ is, I wish his cap was closer to like 26. I think you still can get to KPJ, but just so you know, he doesn't project well. And then Dame we'll talk about next week once we get a better feel for if he's going or not. Let's look at the Indiana side of things here. Pacers have played the Bucks well. Halliburton's here. His cap has come all the way down to 46. The thing that I want to focus on a little bit right now is Spicy P. Pascal Siakam has a cap of 32 and he projects for 41. One of the issues we've run into Spicy P here the last couple of weeks that I don't know if people have been paying attention to, mainly because these games they've been set in the 4 seed for a while. Pascal Siakam has been dinged up a little bit with an elbow injury, and he hasn't been able to shoot the ball at all. So, I don't like. I really like Indiana's chances if Dame's not back until Milwaukee game, like the Milwaukee home games, and if Siakam is healthy. But Siakam might be a fade for me early on, especially if you think everyone is looking at the same things that we're looking at. They see his cap is 32, and he projects for 41. Ooh, there's a big fly. Woo, that was gross. We got him, though. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. Got to sweep that up in a little bit. Yeah, I don't think I love I think if everyone else is going to be looking at projections, right? And they're going, wow, Pascal Siakam in a really good spot. Cap all the way down to 32. Spicy B. Right? If that's what they're doing, I think I'd rather try to find another spot there. Miles Turner, cap at 33. He projects pretty well, but Miles Turner, good luck. I do think Andrew Nembhard is one of my favorite plays here. Cap at 23, projects for 30. We know he's going to be out there a lot. Same thing with Aaron Nesmith. T.J. McConnell seems to be a playoff guy, but I just, will continue to stress he had a pretty down year this past season. And then you get Obi Toppin, Ben Shepherd, and then Benedict Mathurin. That's kind of it there for your Pacers. So Nembhard probably my favorite value play. Siakam, my biggest question mark, I think. All right, so that's it for those 2 games. Let's go to Denver and the Clippers. Let's start with the Nuggets, as they are the home team here. You got Michael Porter Jr. seems to be the best value. The one thing I want to say about these Denver guys, right, their bench sucks, man. And we know they're not going to be playing guys where they're not playing back-to-back games. They are at home. I could see their minutes getting stretched big time. You could, like, Jokic will probably play 40 minutes a game. Jamal Murray, if he's healthy, will probably play 40 minutes. Same thing with Gordon and Porter Jr. Like, this team, more so than any of the other teams outside of the New York Knicks, I think their starters get pushed to the max here. So a guy like Michael Porter Jr., if he's going to be out there this whole time, with so much of the defensive attention of the Clippers being put on Jokic and on Jamal Murray, guys like Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, whose cap is now 29, I think is great. That actually is probably, I think I like that play even more than MPJ's Aaron Gordon there. So Aaron Gordon, cap of 29, projects for 37. Of course, you got Jokic there, is a cap of 66 and still is projecting for north of 70. Jamal Murray, Christian Brown. The only other guy, I think Russell Westbrook is a fade. I don't think I'd be playing him. Peyton Watson, I am interested in, but again, not my favorite. Not my favorite there. I think like Jokic, Jamal, Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., those are the 4 I want. Christian Brown, too. I mean, he's fine. Like, he projects for 40. Again, I think these guys are going to play. I think the lowest a starter plays for the Nuggets outside of crazy foul trouble is 38 minutes. And I think most of them play north of 40. So I'm very comfortable attacking those. I don't think I want anybody outside of Peyton Watson on the bench. I don't think this is going to be a big Russell Westbrook series. Not that he won't play, but Russell Westbrook is not going to be the guy that I'm going to be attacking. That is for damn sure. Let's look at the Clippies, baby. Norman Powell. I believe he made the thumbnail again. Is that right? He's great. Norman's great. Cap of 26, projects for 37.7. So that's a great spot. James Harden, Zubac. I wanted to point out Chris Dunn here. Cap of 20, projects for 28. Okay. So this is kind of what I'm anticipating the Clippers to do defensively, is to throw Chris Dunn on Jamal Murray. And because they have like Harden, Kawhi, Norman Powell, and Zubac out there, they can kind of take the 0 from Dunn offensively, right? And I imagine Denver is going to be out there just being like, you know what? If Chris Dunn is going to knock down threes, God bless him. Go for it. I think Chris Dunn's going to be playing good minutes, like, for his cap of 20. I think he's going to be out there for a handful, like a good chunk of minutes. And I think he's going to have opportunities. Now, Chris Dunn could absolutely go 0 for 7. Could have 6 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals and 4 turnovers, something like that. But if he does like go 3 for 5 from 3, and all of a sudden he's 9, 6, and 6 with a couple of steals, he ends up being like a great value there with a cap of 20. So I think Chris Dunn, sneaky, really good value play for Saturday. I think targeting this game in general is pretty fun, just because I think the minutes are going to be super, super condensed. Derek Jones Jr. off the bench, I think, is another good spot. I imagine he comes into the game and honestly could get the Jamal Murray assignment as well. I know that's not the same position, but you could see it. And then Bogdan Bogdanovic, you know I'm a bogey guy. He's got a cap of 22. I think you could let that rip as well. And that is it for that game. Let's go Detroit Bing Bong. That's the third game of the night. Excuse me. Let's start with the New York Knicks, actually. Now, I already mentioned this, but these are all the best plays because, and you can't, I don't think you can play anybody off the bench, right? Landry Shamet projects for 12.5. Deuce McBride, maybe. Mitch Robinson, maybe. But look at this shit. You've got OG Anunoby, cap of 42, projects for 44. Mikal Bridges, I like it. Listen, I know he's been disappointed offensively. He's going to play so many minutes, cap of 28, projection of 35. Josh Hart, cap of 37, projection of 44, and then Brunson and Cat. I mean, you could make a case that Brunson and Cat are like MVP caliber because, again, they're going to play 44 minutes. They're for sure going to play the whole game. I think Cat is honestly, he might be a better play than Luka for Saturday. And I only say that, I mean, obviously Luka's a better playoff basketball player, but I think they're going to be like Jalen Duren is just not the guy that can stay with Karl-Anthony Towns. Duren's like a good defender. He's a massive human being. Cat's going to be able to take him outside if he wants. He's going to be able to get by him. I just think this is like a really, really great opportunity for Karl-Anthony Towns to average like over 30 points a game. So I think Cat is great. Brunson is great. I wish Josh Hart's cap was like closer to 33, but you could definitely, like, I think it's fine at 37. Mikal Bridges is probably the best play. I would say OG Anunoby. Again, you could still play him because he's going to be out there for so many minutes. But because his cap, like he was on such a heater while Brunson was out, his cap has been inflated a little bit. So, I mean, he can still get there, but it's not the same value as the other 4 that we already mentioned. And then again, Deuce McBride, if you need to do it, but you don't. You don't need to do it. There's enough games that you don't need to. Let's go to Detroit basketball. Cade Cunningham. He's another MVP-worthy feller. He's got a cap of 49. He projects for 55. I think if you think Detroit has a shot in this series, guys like Malik Beasley with a cap of 26 are pretty fun. He's going to be out there quite a bit. If you think a lot of the defensive attention goes to Cade Cunningham in this postseason, then Tobias Harris is someone that could get some cleaner looks. Asar Thompson minutes could be increased here quite a bit because they're just going to need some guys to cover these Knicks, and he's the guy. And then, hey, maybe you're like, yeah, sure, Cat can take Duren offensively, but then Duren can beat him up on the other end. Okay, you could get there. You could also play the game that, hey, what if Duren gets into foul trouble staying with Karl-Anthony Towns? Then you've got Isaiah Stewart that's going to be out there for a ton of time. He's got a cap of 21, a projection of 21.8. But if you're projecting foul trouble, then all of a sudden he's playing you up his minutes by 10. Now he's projecting for north of 30. That's a solid play there. I think Tim Hardaway Jr. is a little thin. Ron Holland, I don't think I would get there either. Something to pay attention to later in the playoffs, if they make it, is Jaden Ivey returning. Not sure we're going to see that, but just, something to think about, and then the last game of the night, I mentioned the Lakers, the Tinseltown Bros. You got LeBron James, cap of 41. That's like a decent little guy to slide in there for your second MVP. You got Rui Hachimura, who ends up being one of the better value plays here. Cap of 20 with a projection of 31. When you think about the Lakers rotation, right? We're going to have Luka, LeBron, Austin Reeves, and Rui are like the 4 main guys. And then I think we're going to see a combo of Gabe Vincent, Dorian Finney-Smith, Jackson Hayes, and Jared Vanderbilt. I think Dorian Finney-Smith is the most intriguing of those guys we just listed. Austin Reeves' cap, I wish that came down a little bit. But again, they're going to be playing massive minutes. You know that most of the defensive attention from Minnesota is going to be placed on how do we stop Luka? How do we stop LeBron? So that, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't overthink it. I just think Rui is probably one of the better plays. I think he's going to get some real clean looks. I think he's going to have opportunities to try to bully some Randall on the block. I think that's pretty fun. Dorian Finney-Smith, again, he's just going to be out there a lot. I think I would stay away from Jackson Hayes. That's the one with the weakest floor, I think, anyways. Let's go to the Minnesota side here. The Minnesota side, you got McDaniels, who we know is going to play a ton of minutes. McDaniels, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. McDaniels, you don't really know which side of him you're going to get. Cap of 19, projects for north of 30. You got Dante DiVincenzo. Could we see some old playoff Chenzo? But Naz Reid is the one that I've been talking about a lot. Cap at 23, projects for 29. I think, though, there's a real mismatch there with whoever's going to cover Naz Reid. And if Naz Reid and the Timberwolves are able to impose their will with the big boys, I think that is their pathway forward. We already know Anthony Edwards is going to get his. Randall's going to get his shots up. I should say Randall's cap is only 34. That's pretty solid. Anthony Edwards, of course, you're playing him. Mike Conley, whatever. I'm most interested in these three guys here: McDaniels, Reed, and DiVincenzo. Also, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I could see him playing enough defense that they just keep him out there. If he does a good job on the perimeter, I could see him playing a little bit more. And his cap is only 24, so it's a cheap-ish shot. And then Rudy's cap has come all the way up to 44, which kind of sucks. I think if Rudy's cap was a little bit lower, that would be an excellent play. But this is something where we pay attention to game 1 and game 2, see how Minnesota rotations shake out, where they find that their advantages are on the offensive and defensive end of the court. And then we kind of make adjustments from there, because we might learn after game 1, they're like, hey, you know what? They have an advantage with Rudy out there. Everybody's like, oh, if they go small, Rudy's cooked. But maybe Rudy's able to beat them up down low a little. I know that's normally not what happens, but something to pay attention to with game 1. But honestly, for me, it's DiVincenzo, Naz Reid, and McDaniels. I think those are the pieces that you're looking for to like really allow yourself to build some winners. Again, we don't know, who we're getting for the 8 seeds. So we'll just look at the 1 seeds first, Boston and Cleveland. And then we can look at the 2-7 games as well. So we're going on to Sunday now. Sunday. So we got you through Friday. We got you through Saturday. Let's start with the Celtics. Jaylen Brown's cap has come all the way down to 29. This is just depends how healthy you think he is, bro. If you think JB is healthy, this is an amazing cap at 29. I know the Orlando game isn't super exciting because Orlando plays good defense. They slow down the 3, but because they slow down the 3 ball a little bit, it makes me like Jaylen Brown, because if he is healthy, he can attack them on the wing, just do some slashing, do his ISO ball shit, get to his spots. And I think at a cap of 29, you're basically getting a guy who should be a cap in the high 30s for this price, or for this cap. I think Jaylen Brown unlocks a lot of lineup construction building stuff there. Then you got Derek White, cap at 36. He projects for 45. That's a pretty high projection. And I think you can play this game here. If you think Jaylen Brown is going to be severely limited, either because he's not 100% healthy or because you think the Celtics just run away with this series, I do think you can take advantage of that by not going at Jaylen Brown and going at guys like Derek White, who maybe play a little bit more, Drew Holiday, who play a little bit more. One thing about those guys, man, is that like if they're really going to be throwing Corey Joseph and Cole Anthony out there, I know they have Anthony Black as well, but if you're throwing those other 2 guys out there, Peyton Pritchard, Drew Holiday, and Derek White should have some fun. Pritchard's cap's at 29. Porzingis too, another spot you could attack, cap at 38. Drew Holiday's cap, though, all the way down to 27. That's pretty nice. Al Horford down at 31. I don't know if this is the series for him, but those are all great spots there. Let's look at Cleveland next. Cleveland, the only problem with Cleveland... Wow, they didn't list their shit either. Okay, so Donovan Mitchell's cap is 43, so that's not as fun. I wonder if they didn't do it for the Thunder either. Yeah. So Mitchell's cap's 43. Garland, however, his cap is 35. I think Garland is going to be a great play. Also Mitchell, too. Mitchell is a fine play. His cap's a little bit higher. The thing about this is they're playing, especially if Atlanta plays, attacking Cleveland is going to be so smart on Sunday, because the upside of just how many points they can score is going to be insane. Mobley's cap is 41. What about Allen? Allen down to 27. I think Allen could be a useful piece. And then Ty Jerome is the other one I wanted to get to. His cap's 25, though. That's kind of what it should be. And then Hunter on the other end, cap of 27. You're probably not getting to DeAndre Hunter. The Thunder, I mean, all their caps are pretty high. Shea is at 53, right? Jalen Williams is at 38. There's a little value to Jalen Williams. Chet Holmgren is 31. The one thing I will say on the Thunder, just in general, since we don't really have projections here, if Memphis wins, fuck OKC, light them up, baby. Those OKC plays become so much better. Dallas, a little bit more of a defensive-minded team, so not as exciting, right? But if Memphis wins tonight, Then I think the OKC plays on Sunday are brilliant. Like Chet would be in a great spot. Hartenstein, you can get away with that. Because I just there will be a ton of points. There will be a ton of points. So you're okay. Root for Memphis tonight if you have a Thunder gallery. And then the other two matchups, right? We already did Celtics Magic. No, we only have one matchup left. Let's look at the Rockets versus Houston. And I'm having a whoa, that's not what I want. I'm having a tough time figuring out what to do with this series from a fantasy perspective. I mean, like I was listening to Michael Pena from The Ringer on with Zach Lowe, and because one of the things I was excited about was Houston just banging up on Golden State on the glass, which I do still think can happen. But they were talking about their double bigs only being played out there when Steph Curry was on the bench in that game, and like, is that even going to happen? I think my favorite play here, like if you think Houston has a shot, I want a lot of Sengun and I want a lot of Amin Thompson. Sengun is a cap of 40. He projects for 50 in that game. I think he's got the best offensive spot. I will point out Fred VanVleet, too. Freddie's cap has come all the way down to 28, and Dylan Brooks's cap is down to 23. I know you see Tyree Easton, who projects a little bit better. I think as long as Brooks isn't firing like a crazy person, I think Brooks and Fred VanVleet are actually going to play more minutes than we're anticipating here. So especially in game one, I think that could be a fun spot. Amin Thompson's cap is 39, which doesn't look as enticing. However, Amin Thompson being out there the entire time. Yeah, no shit, Weisberg. But he's going to be out there the entire time Steph's out there. Amin Thompson is going to be out there. I think he's going to put on his Lou Dort energy and just run this guy around. So I think Amin Thompson, even though his cap is high, you can play him there. The other guy I just want to shout out is Steven Adams, cap of 16, projection of 17. That doesn't look too fun. However, it is because he's going to be out there the whole time. Not out there the whole time. I'm sorry. But if you think this double big thing is really going to happen, then Steven Adams, you can absolutely get there with. And then last but not least, Golden State. So obviously the three of Steph, Draymond, and Jimmy, right? So Steph is a cap of 48, projection of 56.5. Jimmy Butler, great second guy in your lineup, cap of 39, projection of 46. And then Draymond, a great addition too, cap of 27, projection of 33. Just because his cap is so low. After that, Moses Moody has clearly made it known that he's going to have a role in this playoff rotation. His cap is sub 20. We barely talked about anybody as sub 20. Moses Moody is going to play 24 to 28 minutes, cap of 19, projection 27.5. You make the same case for Gary Payton II. I really like Pajemski too, because again, if you think Amin Thompson is going to get all of that time, no, I can't DJP. I can't. There's no way to like filter it in the best way. Just watch the show. And then but Pajemski, I think if all of that attention is being thrown at Steph, somebody else is going to have to step up offensively. And sure, Jimmy Butler is going to get to the line a ton of times. I think that will happen. But I think maybe somebody like Pajemski. But Houston, man, has just so many defenders. I don't think there's like any great matchups for them to like, I guess it's like whoever Jalen Green is covering when Jalen Green's out there. But that's how deep they are. No, I mean, I'm sorry. It was just as we were ending. And then you were like, hey, can you do everything you just did again? Yeah, baby, that was DJP's fault. That was our guy. DJP's fault. You can feel it. What happened. Testa said he requested the show to end. That was good. That was good. DJP says karma. You know what? You might think it's karma, but guess what, bitch? You're still not gonna get the list. You have to watch the whole show, DJP. No, I connected to my OBS and I had to just reset the computer a little bit there, so that's pretty sick. He did forget to do the giveaway. No, we're not doing the giveaway anymore. We're done. We're done with giveaways now. Um, but anyways, that was kind of the end of it right there, which is why it was so funny for DJP to be like, "Hey man, I know you just did like 30 minutes of content breaking down every single thing, but could you just like do it one more time for me?" Um, but yeah, I think like the best value spots. I think those Minnesota gems of McDaniel's, of DiVincenzo, of Nas Reed. I think those ones really stick out to me just because I think they're going to be out there. I think Rui Hashimura is a really really good play. I know that's on Saturday. I don't think people are fully going to take advantage of the Denver Nuggets, who are Denver Nuggets and New York Knicks are going to be like those two rotations are going to be as tight as I'm not going to do that. Somebody else can fill in that joke. But those two rotations, like those starters are going to be playing 40 plus minutes a game. Um, so I think taking advantage of like Aaron Gordon, who's sub 30, Michael Porter Jr., right? We know his is really low. So I think those are like really good spots. Same thing with Mikal Bridges, who I think we said was 28, right? I think those are some of the best value plays right there. Jalen Brown, depending on what you think about his knee, is somebody that really sticks out too because he's sub 30, but I just don't know how hard Boston's going to rely on him or need him. If he is healthy, he is my favorite spot. Uh, just because again, the Orlando Magic are one of the best 3-point defending teams in the league. Obviously, Boston likes to unload the three. So if you're thinking of who is the one Celtic that does not rely on his 3-point shot that can get to the rack, I mean, yes, Tatum as well, but Jalen Brown being that low of a cap is pretty solid. Um, those are like the main ones, though. I think those are the main ones. I think Steven Adams is like a nice little dart throw. Moses Moody, again, sub 20. So is Gary Payton. I think both of those guys on Sunday. And then just a reminder, like if Memphis wins, um, man, that OKC matchup is so good. Thing is, Cap will update daily, but they'll probably all be good plays for day. Yeah, I'm not looking at the game week stuff. Like, I'm not interested in figuring that stuff out, is all. Um, but yeah, when did these knee issues? You mean for Jalen Brown, Tesla? Do you mean for Jalen Brown? But yeah, I'm not interested in like the game week, like the week to week contest. I think you should be focusing on the daily contest since that's where the prize pool is, right? Um, but yeah, they'll update daily, but like they're most of these teams aren't going to play. Like everybody's only playing once this weekend outside of the two teams tonight, so those shouldn't update as well. How do you think this game will age if his? Are you still talking? Are you talking about Jalen Brown though, Tesla? Like, who are you talking about? Because Tatum's healthy, bro. My guess is, uh, I mean, he was talking about like I think the quotes are a little weird that he was talking about like studying Paul Pierce's game this early. It sounds like it's more bone bruisey, and if that's the case, I'm not like super worried about it. But he will have to, yeah, he will have to adjust his game a little bit later. I mean, I think Paul Pierce is like the right guy to comp there, right? Where Paul Pierce is more about not like dominating you athletically, but just kind of being able to get to your spots regardless of how you defend him. Um, I also think it helps Jalen Brown that he's not the number one. It's easier to have limitations when you have Derek White, Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis, and Al Horford all on the team. Like it just gives you a little bit of safety there. So I'm not like too worried about that. And again, round one, I do think we talked about this in another show. I do think there is some concern for it later in the playoffs, but not early on. I think you're okay. I'm trying to think if there DJP. Did I cover all of those those values for you? Do you feel catered and loved? Um, I think that's it though. I think that's it. I mentioned this at the top. So, I mean, of course, we'll have a bunch of playback over the weekend. But what we're going to be doing for this like basketball content is on Monday we'll have another show, and then we'll probably do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So on Monday we'll cover Monday and Tuesdays. On Wednesday we'll cover Wednesday, Thursday, and then on Friday we'll do the weekend. So we'll kind of do two games at a time. Yeah, bone bruises are bad. They linger and have ended a lot of careers. There was actually some reporting too that it might not be a bone bruise because the way that they were treating it looked more like meniscus irritation. But again, that's from me reading Twitter doctors, so it's unclear how helpful that is. Will you be doing any fast break lineups? No, I'll be fasting. I've been fasting from NBA Top Shot for a while, so I won't be doing any. Um, yeah, I'm not full panic mode yet. About Jaylen Brown though. Meniscus ain't good. Well, I mean, yeah, but it's not bad. Meniscus isn't bad. I mean, like, yeah, you don't want to tear your meniscus, but if it's, but that's also like if that does happen, that's not like a long term problem, you know. I'm not too worried about that one. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. We got an early MLB lock today, so don't forget to do that. There's a game at 2:20, freaking Wrigley, bro. And then yeah, playback all weekend. I'm sure we'll have a bunch of games on. I don't think I'll be able to stream too much tomorrow, but on Sunday I'll be able to do some games. I might be able to do the late game tomorrow, Lakers Wolves, if I'm back in time. But I'm making sure I'm gonna miss the first Pacers Bucks game. I'm only gonna catch the fourth quarter, and then I'm definitely watching Denver Clippers and Detroit and Knicks. But I don't know if I'm gonna be back in my apartment in time to like stream any of that stuff. So that's my plan for the weekend. That is my plan for the weekend for content for all that stuff. Um, but I think that's it, bros. 40 minutes. That's what these bad boys are going to be. We're just going to go game or team by team, trying to figure out where the best plays are. And so I know it's a little bit different than our normal live before lock. And my freaking camera connected to my OBS, but it looks like it's working again. We had to do a little reboot. So thank you for bearing with me, even though DJP caused it. All right. We're going to call it there. Hope you guys have a good rest of the day. Let's see. Can I cue the video here? Can I cue the video? Oh, hell yeah, I can. Make sure you join the Discord if you haven't done that. Oh, join the Splash Sports contest too. We got our own little special one that's starting to fill up. So go join that, and we'll see you guys over the weekend. Enjoy playoff basketball, baby.